Good evening. I have a little bit of an issue. Give me 1 second. There we go. We are live. Oh, excellent. Welcome. Sorry if you have been listening to my blabber for the last 10 seconds. I am starting off by showing you a bunch of names. Basically, 2 weeks ago, I created a competition, and so I created a competition, and then I said that I was going to announce the winner last week, and I totally forgot because I was too excited with the just do this so you can see. Oh no, you can't really see what I'm doing. With the conversation that we were having and with the guest expert that we had in, and I completely forgot to do the competition. So what I'm doing now is I've just written down every name who entered into the competition and just folding their name up on a piece of paper just to show you how I am genuinely selecting everyone at random. If you are tagged in a post today, then you clearly know that you are going to be on this list and that you might be chosen. So I'm just collecting all the names together right now. And then I'm just going to do a little bit of a lucky dip and select 2 people who entered into the competition to get a free coaching call. And, sometimes it's really difficult to get through things and to break through things. Sometimes we just need a little bit of a taster to see what coaching is like. So regardless of what it is that you want, whether you need to help getting unstuck with something that's being an issue for you, a really big struggle for you at the moment, regardless of what your goals are, whether you actually want coaching or not, I have entered you into this, and I'm going to pick 2 winners in just a second. So if you're watching live, as usual, please type in live. If we are watching on replay, please type in replay. It'll be wonderful to see if we are actually live for a start. Bear with me, I'm just checking, making sure that we are live. Should be. Excellent. Yes, we are. So in a second, I will draw the names from the hat, but I do just want to take a moment to sincerely apologize that I totally forgot to draw this competition last week. It has been going for 2 weeks now, clearly, and yeah, I totally forgot. So let's just do this now. I was going to do this later, so here we go. So the first person who's going to get some coaching with me, free coaching, is Deborah Broxton. Excellent. So Deborah, if you are watching this, hit me up, send me a message, and we can book in your free coaching call. Do you know what, Deborah? I kind of knew that you were going to be in there. I don't know why. I just had a feeling. I just had a strange feeling that we were going to end up coaching together. Right. And the second one is Alison Plumer. I'm sorry if I pronounced your surname wrong. Alison and Deborah, you guys have got 2 free coaching calls with me. Just to show you this was completely random. There's another name there. Yeah, I don't want to obviously show everyone's names because that's a bit unfair and that's not really good for privacy. So yeah, you guys, if you want your free coaching call, please hit me up and we can book that in. I'll tell you how to book that in. Otherwise, welcome along anyway. This is about resisting temptation. So I'm going to pretty much go through this as quickly as possible because I don't want to take up too much of your time. So let's crack on with it. First of all, I kind of want to talk about the fact that temptation is always going to be everywhere, right? I work in a restaurant part-time as well. There is always temptation. Now, regardless of whether temptation for you is temptation to veer away from a plant-based diet, to veer away from veganism, to veer away from a calorie restricted diet, whatever temptation is for you, there's always going to be something around, right? We can't, unfortunately, go through life telling everyone to push temptation out the way. So, for example, one of my clients, she knew that crisps were a massive temptation for her. So instead of walking down the street via her usual pit stop and going in and grabbing her crisps, she then decided to walk a different route home. And what that different route did is that stopped her from facing that temptation. So I guess one of my first points, and it was just kind of to give you an example, but it's clearly going to be my first point, is to veer away from that temptation where possible. So for example, my client who was absolutely in love with potato chips, she knew that if she walked home, she would want to stop by that shop. Whereas if she changed the route home, because not eating potato chips when she wasn't hungry was important to her, she changed her route. So she stopped the temptation from being right up all in her face. And that was able to get her to shift out from that kind of instant buying mode. So that's just kind of like a little nutshell, a little example of what you can do. But other examples are, imagine if you're at a birthday and they bring out cake. You know, this is perfect example for whether you're on a calorie restricted diet or whether you are just trying to be more plant-based. There's cake at a party, you're probably going to want it. Okay, there's always going to be temptation around. Maybe you work with food, maybe you work in a grocery, maybe you work on a bar where there's snacks and food around. Maybe you work in a restaurant or in a hotel, somewhere with a cafe, somewhere where you can always smell food or see food. Maybe you see all the new plant-based options or all the new diet options that come out on the shelves, and it's something that you are really struggling to not go for because the temptation is always there, right? Maybe that's for you. Maybe you have kids or a spouse and they have a box of foods or goodies in the cupboard. That's extremely tempting. You know, it's in your cupboard, it's in your kitchen. Well, you know, it's right there and it's staring you in the face. It's always talking to you. It's always telling you, eat me, because I'm just here. Right. So these are all different forms of temptation. And regardless of what you're experiencing now, you know, maybe you're a sweet tooth and that's the example that you use. But I just want to let you know the first things first is you are always in control of your actions, right? Unless you are physically being forced to move your hand to grab something, you are always in control. And we always forget that we are actually in control. A lot of the time when I'm speaking to people, they say, I'm not in control, you know, food kind of owns me or food controls me. I don't have any control over food. And I just have to really take a step back and pinpoint that and say, where is the fact in this, right? There is literally no fact in the fact that you are controlled by food. You have all the control. So regardless of whether you want to carry on lying to yourself or start believing you have that control and understanding that you do have control is totally up to you. I know that if you start realizing and believing and saying that you have the control, that puts the power back in you. And it also gives you the responsibility of your actions. So you can no longer blame something else. You can't blame other food for making its way to your mouth, but it puts you in the driver's seat, right? And what that does is it gives you that authority to say no. Otherwise, beforehand, we'd be like, oh my God, you know, I don't have any control over food. Look, I just don't have any control. And then we would eat that food. Again, regardless of whether we're talking for weight loss or if you want to just be completely plant-based, that food could be non-plant-based and that could be the direction that you're taking this. But either way, if you feel like you don't have control over food, or if that's something that you think, change your thoughts. You are always in control, right? We always believe that our beliefs are fact. You know, for example, Bianca, I have no willpower. In your brain, if you are one of these people who say, I have no willpower, in your brain, you utterly believe this is true, right? If you believe something, you would probably swear to the end that this is 100% true, right? Maybe I have a sweet tooth. Again, it's a belief, it's a thought, it's something that you are saying about yourself. It's a belief, so therefore your brain thinks it's true. Now, the problem with this is it's very difficult to see where the truth is and where it isn't. If you're describing yourself, oftentimes we can actually change that. I have no willpower is not necessarily true. That's just a belief that you think about yourself. Someone else might turn around and say, oh my God, you have a lot of willpower compared to me. right? I've said this before without realizing what I'm saying. And I've said, oh my God, I have no willpower, or I have no consistency. And I was talking about the gym, and someone was like, oh my God, you have so much willpower. You get up, you go to the gym every day. And I realized in that moment that the fact that I had no willpower was no longer a fact. It was actually a belief, and it was always a belief. But because my brain always believes a belief is true, are you with me here? Then I always saw it as fact. So separate the fact from fiction, right? Start understanding that things and the way that you describe yourself aren't always the truth, but they are a belief. So start understanding that you might be wrong, and that's okay. You might be wrong. So know that you're in control, right? I have no willpower turns into, oh my God, that's just a belief about myself. What if I had willpower? What if I just didn't realize where my willpower was? This is a belief. And the good thing about beliefs is beliefs can be changed. If you believe something, it can be changed, right? So you are in the driver's seat, you're in control, you get to go whichever direction that you choose based on the beliefs you choose to believe. You can always ask yourself in the moment, because you're in control, is this moment of feeding, eating, of pleasure, is this moment worth the time that it's going to take me, that I'm going to use to punish myself, to shame myself, to publicly embarrass myself, to overcome the sugar roller coaster that it's going to send me on, to overcome the excess fat that I'm storing in my body, to push through the excess calories that I'm consuming right now, to break through the ethics of me eating this thing. Don't forget, today I'm going to be talking about going plant-based and weight loss, because we've got a combination of people here. I want this to be addressed to everyone. So I want you to think as well for a moment, because you're in control. You get to ask yourself, is this moment right now worth it? Because I can guarantee you, a moment that you are going to take to eat that cake at the birthday party is probably not worth the shame, the guilt, the punishment that you're going to put yourself through for weeks after. Imagine how many times, or think about how many times you've said, oh yeah, but that thing that I ate maybe a week ago, maybe yesterday, maybe a couple of weeks ago, maybe if you're going plant-based, it's something that you keep getting hung up on. Imagine or realize how many times that you've said something or been hung up about an action that you've done. Was it worth the punishment? Was it worth the consistent thinking, the working it off afterwards for just a moment of pleasure? When in actual fact, something else could have been a better pleasure than food in that moment. Just think about it, because you are in control, right? It does not control you. One of my second steps is to set real, clear, and realistic goals. Okay, you really need to establish clear and realistic goals, because this is going to help provide you with a sense of purpose and motivation. Without goals, you don't really know where the boundaries are, what's okay, what's not okay, how long it's supposed to take you, right? They need to be short-term and long-term goals, so break them up, understand, right? If my long-term goal is to lose X amount of weight, or if my long-term goal is to be 100% plant-based, then that means that, you know, in 6 months' time, I've still got 6 months' time to lose this much weight, or I've still got 6 months' time to transition over. Understanding your goals reduces that temptation, just purely because you can consistently remind yourself of your goals, why you're doing this. And if you consistently remind yourself of these goals, they're going to be fresh in your mind. I don't know about you, but if have you ever set a goal and got really super stoked or super excited because you're going to go and do something, right? And a goal isn't easy. A goal isn't just a dream of a thing that we can easily do. It takes time, it takes effort, right? That's why it's a goal. No goal is easily achievable overnight. That's the point in it being a goal. But when you think about achieving it, think about that excitement and the happiness that you are going to have after achieving that, right? And so you can remind yourself of that joy, of that pleasure, of the goal, of your why along the way. That is one way that you can resist temptation. Number 2 is to create a daily plan. I'm just seeing if anyone else is online with me. Number 2 is to create a daily plan. Now, with the daily plan, hey guys, is anyone else online, by the way? With your daily plan, you can plan your meals in advance, right? If you can ensure that they are balanced, nutritious, and enjoyable, often it's much easier to stick to the plan and know exactly what you're having so you don't have to think about anything else. This reduces the chances of impulsive decision making that's often driven by hunger, cravings, or emotions, right? So if you make a plan at the start of the day, and I get to all of my clients to do this, if you make a plan at the start of the day, I'm going to exactly eat X, Y, Z, this, and this. This is exactly what I'm going to eat. You have stopped all of the thinking, all of the thought processes, all of the cravings around food because you know this is it. Do you notice that if you take food to work or take food with you, when you don't, you kind of end up losing the plot a little bit. Maybe you end up spending some time at the vending machine. But whereas if you pack a lunch and you take that with you, or you know exactly what you're going to eat, you end up sticking to it more often than not. Like sometimes it's just like it doesn't work. But more often than not, if you take food with you, like you know exactly what you're eating, that actually reduces your thoughts or desires to go out and get something else, which tends to be off plan. And what's off plan tends to be the foods that don't serve you because you're reaching out in a state of impulse, right? So creating the daily plan is super essential because it minimizes all the thinking, minimizes all the thinking about food, all worry. Is this going to be good enough? Is this going to be big enough? Is it going to be nutritious enough? Am I going to enjoy it? Just get it over and done with. Take 5 minutes at the start of the day, plan what you're going to have, and then you don't need to think about food for the entire day. And you know, if you're taking a packed lunch, then you know already what you're having, right? Super, super easy. Step number 3 is to practice mindful eating, right? So practice mindful eating. What do I mean by this? Eat what you want, but savor every bite. Eat what you want, but be present during meals. Eat what you want, but know exactly what it tastes like, what it smells like, what it looks like. Being mindful and being present when you eat gives you so much more satisfaction with your food because you're noticing everything. You're actually noticing the flavors, you're noticing the textures, you are noticing the satisfaction. Whereas the problem is if we're distracted when we eat, eating then like the joy out of eating just gets stripped out, right? But when you're being mindful about eating, you get to revel and enjoy the joy of eating. So practice mindful eating, and then you won't actually feel as deprived because you wouldn't have finished an entire meal and gone, oh, hang on a minute, I just ate a whole bag of chips without thinking about it, right? Imagine how much more enjoyable that bag of chips would have been if you actually sat there and gone, this is good. You know, close your eyes, imagine like where you are, what the flavors are, how does it taste like? If you've ever noticed, like when you've been really craving something and you sit there and you like put it in your mouth and you close your eyes and you're like, oh my God, that's so good. That is literally mindful eating. Think about the difference in the emotions, the energy around eating that food like that versus when you're just grabbing something on the go. If you think about the difference between that, one is much more enjoyable. You're making the entire event enjoyable and tasty, and you're kind of being extremely mindful of the flavors and the textures of everything, right? Whereas the other example, you're just throwing it in and you're not really paying any attention. With that, you're going to want to crave more because you're still looking to enjoy that food, right? So you get to eat what you want still, but actually enjoy it. This is probably one of the most fundamental rules, actually, come to think of it, of resisting temptation, is you don't need to resist temptation all the time. Obviously, if you're switching from vegan to plant-based, from a meat diet to a plant-based diet, for example, this isn't going to work because you can't eat the same things. But the things that you do get to eat that are the same, all the vegetables, all the grains, all the potatoes, everything else like that, you can still eat, right? And just be mindful of it. So resisting temptation when you're on a weight loss, for sure, take time. Be very mindful when you're eating. It makes such a difference. The next big point is to stock up, right? Literally in your belly. Stock up, fill up on whole foods. Fill up on the whole foods, fill up on everything, fill up on goodness, fill up on nutrition, fill up on grains, on nuts, on seeds, on fruits, vegetables, legumes, beans, fill up on whole foods. The hungrier you are, the easier it is to give in, right? Think about when you're really, really hungry, you get home and you're like, just give it all to me, right? You just shove it in your mouth. I've done that before, so I know what it's like. Think about how quickly you will shovel anything and everything into your mouth when you're so hungry versus how mindful you are if you're not that hungry, right? Fill up on good, healthy foods, guys. If you don't know what good, healthy foods are, pop me a message and I'll redirect you to another training I've got. I've got so many trainings in this group now. Number 2, under stock up, find so many and loads of healthy plant-based alternatives, right? Find the healthy alternatives. If you usually eat a chocolate bar and you're wanting to be plant-based or you're wanting to be healthier, find something that's a better replacement, like peanut butter stuffed dates dipped in chocolate, or peanut butter stuffed coconut dates dipped in chocolate, right? These are like Bounty or a Mars bar kind of alternatives, but they've got so much more fiber, antioxidants, nutrition, vitamins, minerals in them than just a bland old chocolate bar, which, yes, it might taste all right, but there's no nutrition in it, right? Find the healthier and plant-based alternatives. Replace sugary or high-calorie treats with fruits, vegetables, nuts, or low-calorie options that you enjoy. Yeah, so again, replacing the refined sugars, all the shit, all the junk, all the high-calorie, fat-dense foods for lower calorie options. If you think about like a small chocolate bar, that could be about 200 calories, right? But then if you take a big bowl of strawberries, that's going to be about maybe 80, 100 calories. So although I don't advocate necessarily counting calories, just being mindful and being aware of what's in those two is a huge difference. So again, this is called like stocking up and filling up, because you're filling up with lots of volume on tasty foods as opposed to like a small little chocolate bar. So again, replace the sugary, high calorie fruits, sweets and treats with fruits, nuts, vegetables. Keep healthy snacks within easy reach, guys. This is another stock up tip. Keep healthy snacks within easy reach, but make unhealthy choices harder to reach, right? So put all the healthier choices out on the countertop, put them at the front of the cupboards, make the unhealthier ones really difficult and awkward to get to. It's the same with habits. We make the good habits easier and like a default choice, right? And we make the harder habits or the bad habits harder. So what I mean by that is I would put my trainers and my gym clothes right at the end of my bed, maybe up here, to make it easy for me to put my gym gear on to go out to work. Whereas I would probably hide my dressing gown if I knew that there was a chance that I wanted to sleep in or lounge around in the morning instead. So you make the unhealthy choices harder, make the healthy choices easier on yourself. Again, it's the easiest way to resist temptation. Hey Sheila, hey Debbie. If anyone else is watching, guys, just pop in the chat so I know who's watching. If you missed the start of the video, I announced the winners from the competition that I said that I was going to announce last week, but I totally forgot. Okay, guys, my next point is to manage stress. Why is this important? Stress often triggers emotional eating response. Stress is one of the most common reasons why we emotionally eat, right? On top of, and as well as anxiety, boredom, frustration, right? All of these things are also reasons why we emotional eat, but stress is probably one of the top ones. Not only that, is when we are stressed, we increase the cortisol production, and cortisol increases the fat accumulation around the belly. So, especially if weight loss is something that you're after, manage your stress as best as you can, right? Implement stress reduction techniques like meditation, deep breathing exercises, yoga, go for a walk, spend time in nature. Do something that helps you unwind, not winds you up, right? So, if spending time with your kids winds you up, that's not necessarily a stress reduction technique for you. Maybe for someone else it is. So again, look at ways that you can manage your stress in a productive way that works for you, in a way that you can reduce that cortisol production, in a way that you can minimize that need and desire to grab something off the cusp of wanting to manage that stress. Oftentimes we'll grab food because we just need a way to numb out. We need a way to break away from the norm, right? And managing stress doesn't necessarily apply to transitioning to a plant-based lifestyle in terms of temptation, but it can actually help you if you're on that route too. Okay, so just be mindful, regardless of what your goals are, what your stress levels are at. And I always talk about stress levels because it's super important. We always want to live a healthier, happier, and longer life. So, regardless of what your goals are, guys, manage your stress a little bit better, please. Trust me, we're all guilty of it. Okay. Number 6, avoid triggering environments. Some environments trigger desire for unhealthy foods, right? It's just habitual. Maybe stay away from fast food restaurants. Maybe stay away from bakeries. Maybe stay away from somewhere. Maybe it's not necessarily a shop or a restaurant, or it's a place where you would always go and get food or take food, right? If you've got an association with a place or a restaurant or a friend's house, and you've got an association with a particular food that you're trying to avoid because it doesn't suit your goals anymore, then try and stay away from that environment. Or ask your friends or family to respect the path that you're on and help meet you halfway. Maybe you can decide on a better restaurant option. Maybe you can decide on bringing a healthier food or a healthier snack. For example, one of my clients knows that every time she goes around her friend's house, wine will be on the table. I think that's a really good friend, but also not a helpful one when you're on weight loss journey. But what she did is she spoke to her friend and said, "Hey, like, I really appreciate the way that we connect is through wine, but I'm really trying to reduce my alcohol intake and lose just a little bit of extra fat. And I would absolutely love it if you could respect this and we could change, or if you could just respect the fact that I'm going to bring something different that's non-alcoholic round." Do you know what happened? Her friend didn't get pissed off. They still got to connect. She still got her social life, and she got to resist temptation by asking her friend to remove the temptation. And now they catch up and she drinks kombucha and she loves it, right? So avoid triggering environments and swap for a healthier environment, or just swap the rules, change the habits. Everyone can change, and that's totally okay. If you're used to, I'm just going to twist around here a little bit because that sun is streaming in my eyes. If your friends are used to a particular way, that's totally fine. They're not going to disown you because you want to change up some things that you do. And if they do, then they're clearly not friends to have. My next point, guys, to resist temptation. Number 7. So if you've just joined, and I'm just looking at you, Celeste, hi. If you just joined, then you might want to rewind and go back from the beginning. Enlist support from others. Yeah, so I was just kind of leading on from what I said there. Share your goals with family, share them with friends, share them with an accountability partner. Use this group and ask if anyone wants an accountability partner. Yeah, Does anyone need support? I want accountability partner. Use this group. Join other online communities or support groups to connect with like-minded individuals who are also on maybe a weight loss journey, maybe a plant-based weight loss journey, maybe just a journey to veganism. Find people who understand your struggles and can offer advice and encouragement. Okay, so use this community, use this chat, use this video. Ask around, is there anyone that wants an accountability partner? Equally, you can share your goals, share your temptations with friends and family, especially if it's something that's always around when they are around, if it's something they offer. For example, I had a really hard time telling my nan to leave the biscuits in the goddamn cupboard when I went round, but I made it a boundary. I created a boundary. I said, look, Nan, I appreciate that you are doing this because it's your way of showing love. But at the same time, I'm going to have just eaten and I really don't want to eat anymore because it makes me feel really nauseous. If you bring out the biscuits, I'm going to have to put them back away. And if you keep doing it, I'm going to have to remove myself and I'm going to have to leave. This is called setting boundaries, which is a totally different video. But setting boundaries is about showing people where your yeses and nos are and giving them the consequence, right? If they persist to push the boundary, then you need to explain what the consequence is and stick with it, which is always the hardest part. Anyway, that's a boundaries talk, which I think would be a good one to do. So that's number 7, is enlist support from others. And finally, my last point here is practice moderation, not deprivation. Okay, so if you're transitioning to a plant-based or vegan lifestyle, you might want to take it a little bit slower. Of course, in the end, the goal is to be completely deprived of animal products, but maybe while you're transitioning, just take it slow. Okay, just do one thing at a time. Maybe if you want to cut it out, then try the vegan alternatives. If you're on a weight loss journey, practice moderation, not deprivation. So don't completely deprive yourself of the foods that you enjoy. Allow occasional indulgences in a controlled manner. Again, this goes back to my previous point of being extremely mindful of that intake, right? Be conscious of your portion sizes. Be conscious of the foods that you get to eat, because you get to eat them, but we don't want to get to a point where we're overeating. Okay. Thank you so much for joining me on how to resist temptations. If you have any comments or questions, please drop them in the box below. Again, the winners of the competition are Deborah Broxton and Alice Pluma. I'm really sorry if I pronounced your surname wrong, my lovely. We've actually been talking quite a lot, so you're going to hate me for mispronouncing your name wrong. You girls need to get in touch with me and we will set up a coaching call. And keep your eyes peeled, guys, because I might do more of these. These are fun and it just fills up my calendar while I've got a couple of little spaces free. So yeah, it's fun. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please let me know if you struggle with temptation. Let me know in the comments below. And I think that's about it. Excellent. I'll catch you soon, guys. Take care. Bye.